We are Fandom Roulette.
Two nerds with a passion for
History,
video games,
tabletop games,
and, well, really any nerdy stuff that comes into our lives.
While we might not be able to name every ship classification in Star Wars,
Or every Pokemon.
or every spell in the player's handbook,
Well, one of us can.
we're still here to have a good time.
Hey everyone, welcome to Fan Roulette. This is Joe.
And I'm Cody.
At our Fan Roulette, this is a podcast where we talk about a myriad of nerdy things, including such things as history, video games, tabletop role-playing games, and any other nerdy stuff that we feel like talking about when it comes up and we want to talk about it.
Nice. Did you get thrown off because of the stank I put on my name at the beginning?
Oh, it's a teensy bit. Hey, it was better than when I did it out of order.
Oh, man, that was good.
And who knows which one that will be.
It's true. These will probably be out of order. So
but hey,
someone's going to be like, what the fuck?
Yeah, hey, no, now I'm making it like an what's it called? An alternate reality game? Augmented reality game?
Oh, shit. Are we Argon right now?
Yeah, we're Argon, baby. So if you go back and you pause it at minute mark 2:13 at every episode, you'll find the map to find the lost treasure of Joe Lantis.
You know, if we had fans that were dedicated and literally put in every 2-minute and 13-second video bit from episode 0 to now, it would sound like absolute jarbled nonsense.
Yeah, exactly, and that's how they find the gold.
That's how they find
Joe Lantis. Hey,
yeah,
I said 2:13, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I'm just no reason I'm asking that question.
No reason whatsoever. I can't believe we are over 100 episodes in. If you count the fact that we are splitting up each episode into 4 other episodes. And you're now revealing the ARG that we've been doing for literally 3 years.
People weren't picking up on it enough.
It's true.
Yeah.
No one
it's
figured
also,
it out yet.
It's also largely incomplete.
It's true. They do have to wait another 3 years to get the exact coordinate.
So...
Oh man, these beginning bits are killing me.
But anyway, but anyway, hey Cody, who's that elf in the distance? Is it you and a team of adventurers?
It is.
So anyway, we're gonna do the answer to the last episode of You and a Team of Adventurers, which was my thing.
Yeah.
So,
do you want to tell everybody what the old one was?
So the category was movie, and the prompt was you and a team of adventurers fight for equality on a never-ending ride, and that movie.
And I have the answer.
What's the answer, Cody?
Prefix. So I recognized where this was going, but I had forgotten the title of that movie. So later, and I think I texted you right after I looked it up, I just texted you in all caps the movie, which is Snowpiercer.
Yeah, it was Snowpiercer.
Yeah. And I was just like, what's that fucking movie with Captain America where he's on the fucking train? Yep. And that was it. And of course, I think I literally searched that one movie with Captain America on a train and immediately took me to Snowpiercer.
Yeah, and like, so I kept debating like the phrasing of it because I was like, is equality the right word or is freedom the right word? But they're really
that one's tough, but I understood what you meant.
They are really fighting for equality more than anything else because it's like, hey, we shouldn't be treated like garbage because we're third class, or like. Oh man, what a metaphor! Third class citizens. Then there was also that kick-ass scene on the bridge.
Oh yeah.
That was cool. Good flick.
Good flick indeed. So I have the next one.
Yes.
Now, I played with this one for a little bit to try to get the wording right because this one's a little tough because there's a lot of other. If you don't get this, but you get a movie that has the similar thing, I will still reward you points. But I will give you bonus points if you guess the one that I was thinking of when making this. So anyways, and that applies to the audience as well. You can the category is movies.
Okay.
You and a group of adventurers must defeat a cult that has infiltrated your guild.
To fight a cult that's infiltrated your guild, and it's a movie.
It's a movie.
Okay.
So think on that one. It's a little vague, but I will accept multiple answers if applicable. But if you get the one that I'm thinking of, I will reward you bonus Cody points.
Yeah, which of course you can redeem your Cody points for like a cool Cody visor, and a little Joe Cody plush doll.
And if you save up enough Cody points, you can actually also get the Cody varsity jacket. Is that still a thing? Did people still make varsity jackets?
Yeah, I mean, were we both going for like Joe Campbell jokes?
Yeah, a little bit.
What a pull. What a pull.
I like how we both pulled from the same weird place because we're not smokers.
Probably illegal place. Or not illegal, but certainly immoral.
It's illegal now.
Yeah,
I don't think you can do that kind of shit.
Definitely selling this shit to children.
Right.
You're like, what are you talking about? They're like...
Yeah, so back in the day before vaping, for those of you who may not be 30...
Oh my God, Cody, why did you say that like we're so old?
Well, I'm just saying, someone might not know. Someone might not know. Anyways, before vaping and cigarette companies controlled everything, Camel used to basically give out prizes if you smoked a bunch of cigarettes. Which is super illegal now. You can't. Yeah.
Also, the Marlboro Man died of lung cancer.
Lung cancer, did he not?
Yeah. Just bring it down a little bit.
Yeah. Let's enjoy ourselves, but then also like really mellow ourselves out. It's a roller coaster.
It is. Yeah, just like my favorite roller coasters.
It's like my favorite roller coasters, the ones with cigarettes and dying.
The cool down period on the roller coaster, where it's just like, all right, you did the big hill. Now we're just gonna like chill for a minute.
Yeah, I'm also not a big fan of roller coasters, so
I love them.
Okay,
but anyway, hey,
you can be our roller coaster boy.
What's hey, what's that over there? Is it a dungeon?
Oh, it is a dungeon. But wait, what's in the dungeon? You're right. There is a dragon inside that dungeon.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, this is the tabletop role-playing section where we talk about tabletop role-playing games. And for the past 3 episodes, I've been teaching Joe and you, the audience, the lovely audience, how to be a game master or a dungeon master or whatever kind of master of the tabletop role-playing game variety you want to be. And guess what?
What?
Congratulations. You have graduated basic GM school. Give yourself a round of applause. No, not the kissing.
That wasn't the kissing. That was a different sound.
Oh.
Yeah.
No.
Eagle-eared listeners will know the difference.
Damn. So, from here on out in this section, you are capable of running your first game. Anything past this point, this is looking out for the future. This is getting your bachelor's degree. This is getting your master's, your PhD, whatever you want to call it. These are advanced techniques, things you will start thinking about in the future. And one of the biggest pitfalls that I fell into, and I will tell a story about that at the end, is I always had a problem with planning my games. It was a huge issue for me. I'd always overplan or underplan or do all this stuff and end up like just kind of missing some marks because I didn't properly plan for the session. And I'm going to go over how I plan sessions now because I am, I've been doing this for a really long time. I think, or well, a really long time for me personally. It's been 5 years of actually like being the dungeon master, more of just being in the RPG environment. So anyways, I realized that I tend to either overplan or underplan. And so I realized that there was something not working with my strategy. And I realized at some point, and this kind of happened over one of those sessions where I didn't have anything planned. So I was like, well, fuck it. I'm going to do this. I've started doing a lot of improv work.
Okay.
And that's not to say you need to go take improv classes. I never took improv classes. I took one acting class in high school, and that was not, I wouldn't even call that any kind of help to me whatsoever in that skill. But I think a little bit of improvisation is great with some of the messier parts of being a game master. And one of the big problems that I see with over-preparing, under-preparing is that your players, Joe, I'm looking at you, love to throw a fucking monkey wrench into your carefully planned, pre-made campaign. You have never done that. And guess what? It is a common problem on forums. Like, my characters did this. How do I react to that? And honestly, having a little bit of improv skills yourself prevents a lot of hiccups in these kinds of situations. And one of like the base things that you learn is that you the idea is that you want to go with the flow. You never want to be the person that like puts the party or the story into a brick wall. And a lot of that is like yes and or no but ideology, as I like to call it. Basically, the idea is it's collaborative storytelling. Like everyone's kind of working on it together. And so the improv skills help to keep people engaged by giving them unique opportunities to do weird things, right? So, for example, when the party wants to use like a chandelier to cross the room via a hook shot or something.
Yeah, never done that either.
Never done that in the past month. No. My advice is don't outright say no. If that sounds crazy, you tell them yes, but it might be difficult. You might hurt yourself on the way down. There are some risks to it. And if, like I said, if they still want to do it, then that's a cool story. That's something they will remember. In fact, Joe just used this similar thing to use a hook shot to basically cross a room. And it was fucking rad as shit. It was a really fun experience. So that being said,
it was pretty cool.
It was a pretty cool experience. But that being said, if the party does decide they want to do something impossible, something that just in your brain, as a game master, just doesn't work, doesn't compute, it's okay to say no. I think sometimes the rule of cool can sometimes be pushed a little too hard. Because the rules are there to establish things and like set the game into structure. Because if there aren't rules, we're all just kind of sitting around, storytelling.
Yeah.
That the rules are there so that it enforces a certain style of play. But in exchange to being able to say no, it's also, in my opinion, a good idea to perhaps offer something that's a little more plausible, but that happens to be in the same vein as the original plan. So my example, in case it's not easily identifiable, is the party wants to sneak into this castle. It's all locked up. It's hard to get into. And they decide, they have this crazy idea that they want to use explosives to breach the wall. And that's probably the most tame, crazy shit that I've put up with in my GMing days. And while, yeah, they could blow up the wall if they had the explosives or the magic spells, but that's not really sneaky. And there's no way they could pull that off in my brain without pulling, without alarming some guards. And if they're trying to sneak in, that's probably not a good idea. However, maybe they can find a weaker part of the wall and use a different method besides explosions to breach the castle in a quieter manner. Maybe they use Mold Earth, a D&D 5e spell where they can like push earth in various degrees to basically dig under the castle wall. Or maybe there is a weak spot, but they just need to pull a couple of boulders, and if they do it slow enough, no one's going to notice. You know what I mean?
Sure, yeah.
So the idea is, yes, and, rule of cool still applies. You can be like, yeah, like that's fucking awesome. Of course, yes. But also don't feel afraid to say no, but also maybe offer them something so that it doesn't just completely stop them dead in their tracks. If they don't take it, that's fine. They'll come up with their own plan, but that's something nice to add. That's a bonus to make sure things keep moving if that was their only plan. It's also worth noting that sometimes your players come up with better stuff than you had planned. It's okay to tweak things on the fly and let them have fun with it. Because of the improv, like, kind of planning, my game prep looks way different than when I started. Before, I would build like these intricate encounters, and that encounter would lead to the next encounter, and it almost kind of looked like this weird flow chart with a bunch of like mechanics written on it, and it was a lot. It took so much time. But now what I do is, before the game even starts, I world build extensively. I understand how the world works. When I build characters, I know how they act and how they would react to the players, because everything that comes in contact with the players usually turns into fire or a Molotov cocktail or just a lot of craziness. And it's a lot of front-loaded work.
Yeah, for sure.
But when someone does something unexpected, I know how people react. I know how the rules of my world work, so that it never stops me mid-game. Okay. I don't highlight every detail because that's too much, but I have an understanding of what's going on. Like, for instance, there's a character in the current campaign we're running right now, Benedict Phoenix. He's the party's like handler. He's their boss. And the party's dad. I know just enough to get by. I don't have his origin story, his first crush, if he's had a wife or kids, or if he is married. Like, there are pieces of information I don't have, because in the moment it might make sense to be like, and maybe it's brought up by the players, and they go, oh, is he married? Oh, that's interesting. He is married. So I leave a lot of open spaces so that I can fill them in. It helps to take notes while you're making this stuff up during the sessions, but understanding your space, the space that you're playing in, or just understanding, in the case of you're not, like, you're using pre-existing content, like understanding the book that you're running. Like, understanding that gives you basically how to move forward when people do things like, I want to throw a knife at the barkeep's head. What happens next? Mm-hmm. And it's my session planning, I rarely plan for single sessions anymore. A lot of times I'm creating problems so that the players have something to work at. And in my head, I might have some solutions just in case the party needs help. But sometimes I don't even do that. Sometimes I create a problem, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to let the players figure it out. And 9 times out of 10, whatever they come up with was way cooler than whatever the fuck I was thinking. So lean on your players a little bit to, like, they're part of the story too, but also be willing to, like, think of things on the fly, or like understanding your world so that you can react in a way that the players, you're not just kind of pulling stuff out of your ass. Does that make sense?
For sure.
Do you have any... Before I tell the story, I'll tell the story at the very end, like right before we're about to finish up this episode, but do you have any questions about this kind of improv planning technique?
Like, do you have some, like, some baseline of the way that the rules might work when someone throws something out there that you might not necessarily know? So, like, I feel like there's decent rules for, like, thrown weapons and things like that, but, like, the hook shot, for instance, I don't think there's anything quite like that in D&D. Like, do you just kind of come up with stuff on the spot? I mean, I understand that in, like, D&D, they're like, hey, these rules are kind of guidelines and, like, you know, obviously make them your own in your own way. But, like, what's your word on that? Like, do you just kind of have, like, a baseline rule set that you have that you come up with on the spot, or do you have something that you look to?
So it depends. In terms of mechanics, I understand D&D 5th edition enough where I can pretty much figure something out, at least quick enough to be like, if I don't want to spend too much time on it, most of the time it's rolling a d20, adding a stat that makes sense, and finding and like figuring out in my head how difficult that thing would be. So like a hook shot, for instance, especially when you used it, you were doing it in like a concert hall with like a bunch of shit hanging off the ceiling. That was a fairly easy task to make the shot. So I didn't necessarily make you roll for like actually making the connection. It was swinging on said hook shot and then landing in a way that didn't basically give you that thing where like if you don't like bend your knees, like your shins hurt real bad. I don't know if they're like shin splits, I think is what it's called, or I could be wrong, but like basically I wanted you to roll an agility check to make sure that you didn't basically fucking break your knees on impact, because you were pretty high up. Okay. It depends. It depends on your game. I think 5e can be a little noodly at times. So sometimes I kind of simplify rules if I don't know them offhand and nobody else does. So sometimes I'm just like, you know, roll a d20. Other games might be or are just always better at their mechanics. So like if something weird happens, it's like, oh, well, you're using that weird stat. Kind of a thing. It depends on the game, but 5e is definitely one of those weird, like, it's kind of crunchy in that not all of the rules use the same mechanics, or like don't always like necessarily relate to the d20. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So it depends on your game, but for what we use it for, I know the rules well enough, or like I understand what the d20 represents to be able to be like, all right, I know that a difficulty of 15 is fairly difficult. So if they roll a 15 on their athletics check, they will be fine. If they roll less than that, maybe they'll take some damage. Or if they roll higher than that, maybe they do a flourish, or maybe they get like an advantage or something. Like, I know the game well. Yeah. So I guess another thing too is like, you know, a lot of my pre-prep is also just knowing my game. And I haven't played anything with you guys past 5e except for Monster of the Week for that one shot that we did.
Yeah.
But I was fairly confident in those rules too. So, you know, being confident in like just being confident in general, even if you're not right, you can always tweak that later. But yeah, just kind of being confident with the rules, being confident with like the world that you're presenting goes a long way, and then just kind of improving the rest of that stuff. And granted, I've never had an improv class. I had theater friends, and we used to do like those like Whose Line Is It Anyway games. So like that's about the experience I have. So it is a thing that you can do with very little experience. It's just kind of prepping your brain space to like handle sudden changes.
Okay. But yeah, that's my only question, really.
Cool. Okay, so story time.
Yeah.
Long time ago, in a RPG far, far away, Joe was in a group with 5 others, and I had created a single session that took me weeks and weeks and weeks. It was long.
Oh boy.
And I was still very new with this group. I didn't have a whole lot of DMing experience at the time, or like at least DMing experience that I could like reflect on, you know what I mean? Because like a lot of my, like I think my first like couple of years, I didn't really get a whole lot of feedback from the group, but it wasn't until I started playing with you where I was actually getting quite a lot of feedback, which was really nice. So I planned this whole thing. The party was required to get 2 nobles to basically not be in love anymore at the request of their respective parents.
Oh, yeah.
You remember this.
I do remember this.
I created a Majora's Mask style game. And if anyone's familiar with Majora's Mask, it's complicated. They had 3 days to figure out how to do this. And I had basically major NPC actions planned from the dawn of the first day till the final day. I had where they would be, events that would happen during those days, and then, so that took a lot of work. And then I added a kill switch, which was basically everything would get pushed forward to the final day, or like the things that would happen at the final day, if the party decided to reveal why they were stopping this budding romance. Because unfortunately the player, or the NPCs they were trying to help didn't know that they were step siblings. And what did the party do? They fucking told them in the first interaction. Yep. Literally all of that work to make all those NPC, like there was like a Romeo and Juliet fight scene between the families in the middle of a fucking like town alleyway. There was all sorts of shit because this was Romeo and Juliet themed. And all that work basically went to waste because I added a fucking kill switch that seemed plausible.
Oh boy.
So weeks, absolutely destroyed. And that's when I decided, like, okay, that was a problem. I need to figure out how to tune that back. And so eventually I got to the point where instead of creating these elaborate things and doing all this stuff, I got really good at creating problems that you guys have to solve and then reacting. I like to do a lot more reactionary stuff. Because I think you guys are like the 5 of you interacting together and collaborating with me as like kind of a catalyst to help you guys do that creates such interesting moments. And like sometimes you guys say things, or maybe you don't realize that you've said something that triggers my brain to start working on like, oh, that's a really good fucking idea. I'm going to store that for later.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's definitely, learning how to improvise will help you a lot. And I think the base on that, like the basics, is learning to not hard stop players, to either say, yes, that's fucking cool, the rule of cool and all that, or saying no, but offer, whether it's you offer them a suggestion or something else just comes up narratively in the game, having something there to not pause things. Because I think that's another mistake, a rookie mistake that DMs do, is they'll basically stop the game, in my personal opinion. And I'll talk a little more about this, I think, in the next episode, or maybe the episode after. In my personal opinion, or at least for me, when I'm trying to grade myself and figuring out, all right, what was cool about that session, what was not good, if I find myself stopping the players from just interacting with the game or moving forward, I feel like I've done a disservice, because at the end of it, like, what's the point of me stopping them so they can be frustrated and like not know how to move forward, or not giving them enough leads to like, you know, make a decision? Like, that is basically where I'm at in terms of planning. I do a lot of front-loaded work, and I generally have a loose idea. I make a lot of loose ideas, and then as the players are playing I connect those loose ideas into things that make sense and are interesting to play. I mean, at least hopefully. I assume that Joe thinks these things are interesting, but who knows?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's always a grand old time figuring that stuff out. But yeah, shall we wrap her up?
You bet.
All right, thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of Phantom Roulette. If you would like to learn more, Cody, how can they find out more?
Well, the big thing, if you want to learn more about us in any fashion, you can go to our website at www.phantomroulette.com, where all of our episodes are, and all of our social media stuff. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, boom, everything you need, whether it's Twitch, YouTube, social media, all that stuff, you can find it there. Also at the bottom, you can send letters to us that we can read that are not email specific, so you don't need to give us your email. But if you give us a name and the title and what you want to talk about, we can hear back, criticism or just what you liked about the episode. All those things, we'd love to hear from the fans. It's one of the great joys of running something like this.
For sure.
If you want to get at us on the social medias, our Twitter is fandomr_podcast. That's where we post things such as when episodes go up or when I'm live streaming or all that kind of stuff. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram, all Fandom Roulette. On those, you'll find more of our kind of social media stuff. Like we love memes. We love, sharing things that we find that are really funny. Sometimes they're D&D related. Sometimes they're video game related. All that good stuff. And if you are listening to this and like the sort of podcast medium, we are on iTunes and SoundCloud and Google Play and Spotify, all Fandom Roulette. And if you're like me, who's a YouTube fanatic, we are on YouTube, and now we are caught up. So all of our episodes are going to go live on all of our platforms simultaneously.
Whoa.
I know. And then if you're looking for more interaction with us and you got a Monday night, I stream on Twitch, Mixer, and YouTube, all Fandom Roulette. And I've been playing video games, and Joe and I have been working together on a schedule so that Joe can hop on and maybe talk and chat with us as well. So if you want to chat with us live, you can do so Monday nights from 6 to 10 p.m. EST. And I will be playing video games. Last week I played Bloodstained, which we will talk about in a future episode.
Yay!
So yes, you do your thing, Joe.
Yeah. So if you like the episode, and you want to hear more, see more, do more, please like, review, subscribe, rank, share, tell a friend, ring the bell, all of the stuff to help us move up the various ladders and things like that.
Yes, your support is greatly appreciated as we try to move up in and be able to create more and do more content for this platform.
For you. And then signing off for thank you for listening once again. And then signing off for Fan Roulette, this is Joe.
And I'm Cody.
And as always, stay nerdy.
Stay super nerdy.